All right, everybody, welcome back to another fantastic episode of Deep Dive. This is your boy Rex.
And your boy Prack.
And today we are here to talk about a spectacle. It is Starfield, made by, as you probably all know, Bethesda. And this is a special episode because out of just nowhere and luck, this episode is out on the same day it released 1 year ago, which is September 6th, 2023.
Exactly 1 year. That is wild.
Right. We didn't even plan it that. I just noticed right now.
We pulled Starfield out of the hat because we both been playing it still a year later, and we're like, fuck it. New DLC coming at the end of the month. Bada boom.
Let's dive in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, tell me, you've just had a resurgence of playing this game again after fairly having a rough start with it.
How are you feeling now? I just didn't really like it at first. It just, like I did, but I was forcing myself to like it because I'm such a Bethesda fanboy, basically, where I'm like, I love Fallout 3, 4, Skyrim, 76 can suck it, but...
Suck it so fucking bad, dude.
Starfield just... I mean, it was my fault, though, because I went in with stupid expectations. Like, you know, playing the game a certain way that I play the other games because they're Bethesda games is not a fair way to jump into this game. Because they all need their own identity, so I shouldn't be constantly trying to compare them. And I think that was the biggest error I made, because even Todd Howard's fucking ass was like, Skyrim in space, bro. And I mean, I feel that more this time around. So I don't know what clicked or changed, but...
I think it just kind of wore off your expectations. And like we talked about a little bit, you know, you have these high expectations for these games coming from these companies who produce and make the games you've loved so much. Like you said, Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout 4. A lot of people don't like Fallout 4. I love it. But point being is, you go into this game, you know, putting them on a pedestal. And so when you first play it and you're going through it, you are inevitably disappointed. And so that kind of skews your view of it. So now you're coming back and you've kind of softened your view on it. And now you're able to enjoy it even more because now you're taking it out as it is, not as you expected it to be.
Right.
And I feel that's kind of how I was. I really liked it at first. Things started to wear on me, like the amount of fast travel there is, loading screens. Bethesda's known to have them, but in this game, it does feel quite a bit excessive.
Yeah, I mean, and it feels dated. There's a lot of people that have voiced to me, and by a lot of people, I mean like one person, but but I did agree with him when he said the design overall feels a little bit dated because of the loading screens and the failure to make the game seamless in transitions. And for me, I just really don't know what the fuck they were thinking when they announce a game with as much ambition as Starfield, and they come in out the gate like, oh, it's gonna be hot, it's our first new IP in 25 years or whatever the fuck the time run was.
25 years. That's
pretty nuts.
It's crazy.
They kind of dropped the ball. I mean, I know the game is pretty decently received, but not it did not hit the points of, you know, Fallout 4 even, but definitely not Skyrim, which is like their baby.
Well, I mean, I think if I remember right, it sold really well, but
of course.
It sold better, obviously, but yeah, you're right. The reception of it was lackluster. Even, like I said, for myself, it wasn't. And I say this all the time, and it's hard to say it because I can't tell you specifics about why I feel this, but it just doesn't have Bethesda's kind of quirkiness. And I've said this over and over, even with Skyrim, Fallout, you know, a lot of their games, Fallout 3, they've just got this kind of insane quirkiness to them.
Mm-hmm.
They're super serious situations, most of them. Like Fallout 3, it's the fucking end of the world. Same with 4.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Skyrim, dragons are coming back alive and burning people.
Right.
But they've always had this kind of playfulness to the game. Like, I don't know, in terms of dialogue, in terms of
I mean, literally everything.
Yeah, and Starfield, I feel they took themselves too seriously. Just across the board, I don't feel the quirkiness in it. And I'm gonna, say this up front here. I haven't beat the game. I restarted my game recently to kind of go back through everything, but I haven't beat it. But I do know the story because the internet kills everything.
I finished it, but then I went back and reloaded a save before all that so I could go back and get the rest of the achievements.
Okay.
But I agree, it's way too serious in tone for a Bethesda game, and because of that, it lacks a lot of the charisma and charm that some of those older games had, and in a way, the attention to detail as well. Like it's there, but it's so mildly there in comparison, in my opinion. I don't know how everyone will feel this way, but when we talk about immersion a little bit later, I'll bring that up because I feel like those points of contention for me are like, yeah, we're not really as detailed as we were, and we have these ideas that we kind of shuffle around, but they're not honed in to the point where we as the gamer are as invested in those ideas as Bethesda is, or as they want us to be, per se. But I thought it would be interesting a year later to break it down in a different way, and yet exactly the same way as a day one review, and talk about gameplay, graphics, story, immersion, and overall replay value. I think if we hit those 5 points 1 year later, it'll give a fresh perspective on people who maybe are uncertain if they want to play it, keep playing it, or go back. We might help ease them into that, because I know a decent amount of people like myself were disappointed and they gave up. And I saw that on Reddit, like a lot of people.
Oh, it was all over.
It was everywhere. And then, there were people making articles about it and talking about, the player drop off has decreased here and there on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's up again because they've been patching it a lot.
And the DLC is on its way.
DLC, yeah.
Shattered Space.
So, with all that said, let's dive into the game's core, and we'll kick it off with gameplay.
All right. So I'm going to be honest here. Bethesda touted this gameplay because they're like, we brought on the Doom gameplay mechanic guys to help rework the game's kind of combat system.
Right. A benefit of being part of Microsoft now.
Well, Bethesda's parent company ZeniMax owned Machine Gun Games. Or no, Machine Gun Games didn't do it. Did they? Either way, the Doom IP is owned by Bethesda and ZeniMax. So Microsoft, when they bought them, they got Doom with it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. But Doom was part of Bethesda's thing anyways. But my point being is, where the fuck is it at? Doom has excellent first-person gameplay. Fucking beautiful game. If you can find the rhythm in those games, because they're basically rhythm metal games. In fact, Brandon Labonte is the one that made me realize that. He's the one that told me, because he told me, I think, that he didn't finish the game, and I was like, dude, what? That game wasn't that hard. I beat it. And he told me, he's like, you probably just found the rhythm, because that game is like, not, but it is a rhythm game. So it's like, it's weird to say. If you've played Doom and Doom Eternal, I feel like you might know what I'm talking about, because once he said it to me, I realized when I'm playing it, there's always metal music.
Right.
So there's always some kind of beat, and if you find your groove, you can just go on a murder spree, like when you're on Call of Duty or something and you're listening to music. But anyways, back to the point. I just don't see it in the gameplay. The gameplay is about as in depth as Fallout 4.
Yeah, I could see that.
A few changes with a mix of Skyrim because you have those powers again that you can use.
Hmm.
They're like shouts almost, which is cool. But again, I just is
The
for
powers are
Bethesda.
useless.
I don't use them, man. I have
They're
about five or six,
useless.
and I forget I have them.
Yeah, they're lame as fuck. They don't hold. I mean, you could maybe say that about Skyrim, but I found at least 4 or 5 that I wanted to use on the regular, like
For
the
sure.
jump ahead one where you could go
Yeah,
hella
you could just
fast, and then there's like the scream, and then there's the frost breath I always used, and the flame breath. Like there were useful ones in those powers, and you could maybe argue that to a 1 or 2 degree in Starfield, like the one that helps with your being over encumbered when you're,
yeah. No, I know what you're
that
talking
one's
about.
okay, but I don't really feel that there's a lot of depth to any of that combat in the game. And I mean, it's weird to feel that way because I do feel the animations are so much smoother than Fallout 4. Like
Hmm.
when you have a gun down by your side or you're aiming, it makes me feel like old school Resident Evil almost. Like the camera is at the perfect angle for me when you're playing in third person.
I can see that. No, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's one thing I liked in the Fallout games is they had those horror elements. So you're walking down dark corridors, and the aim over the third person shoulder wasn't quite refined yet, but it was still creepy enough to work.
Yeah.
Where now it's so refined, but I don't know if Bethesda can get as creepy as the things in Fallout 3 and by some extension New Vegas, even though I
Hmm.
realize that's, you know, parent and distributor are different things there, but you know what I mean, because they used that model and stuff, and some of those things were creepier. And Fallout 4 doesn't have that element, and neither does Starfield. They both feel too polished. They feel, even because I have issues with Fallout 4 like crazy.
Yep.
I love the game and I've played the fuck out of it, but it feels less and less like Fallout as they go along. 76 being another example, and now kind of, you know, I see those elements might bleed over from Starfield into the new Fallouts, and I'm worried. I'm definitely worried, and I wouldn't be if Bethesda wasn't the company that uses the same motherfucking engine 3 times refined, but pretends like it's the fucking greatest. And it's like, just get a new one. Just make a new one. Everyone makes a new one at some point, and it only betters the experience in terms of gameplay, which is what we're talking about. I mean, Resident Evil did it, not to bring them up again, but Capcom came out with the RE engine, and that really
Beautiful
refined
engine.
that
Beautiful
gameplay.
engine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
Absolutely.
Konami when they did the most recent Phantom Pain for Metal Gear Solid.
Well,
That's
the
Fox engine. Yeah. And that shit's
Beautiful
fucking,
for the
it's
time.
perfect. Yeah, like it's really nice. And Bethesda could be doing that, but they're not. They're like, fuck it. We'll just upgrade it a couple times. We'll remaster it.
So playing
Bastards.
devil's advocate, because I agree with you on their engine they're using, the creation engine is what it's called, I believe.
Yeah.
Or is it the creation engine? I think it is.
I think so. I don't know. At this
Either
point.
way.
Yeah.
So Bethesda's open worlds have a super specific specialty to them that is almost specific. I don't know of another game that has this ability, but Bethesda's open world is special in the way that it runs. The open world, no matter what, is still moving along.
It is.
And events that happen in the game, even without you there, can affect the game. Like an NPC who's a mission giving NPC, he can die off screen due to a super mutant running with a fucking mini nuke in his hand and blowing him up. But you never saw it happen.
True.
You heard it in the distance, as you do. And everything you do everywhere is kind of saved. So Bethesda has this kind of really cool engine that has this revolving world. where like most other worlds, as soon as you load in, everything reloads, everything's back to the way it was the 30 minutes before you ran through it and destroyed everything.
Mm-hmm.
But Bethesda's thing is kind of consistent the whole time. And that's hard to do, and especially to add depth to the mechanics, graphics, gameplay adjustments and stuff while running this world like that is in itself really remarkable for an engine. But I do agree with you. If they've done it once, they can rebuild the engine again, but actually really update it, make a brand new one using kind of the same technology.
It's not that it's bad, it's just dated.
It is dated, and that's why they have the loading screens, because the world works like that.
Because it cannot handle all of the data that it's processing for all those great things you're talking about. Yeah. So it has to load. The loading wouldn't even bother me if they would just be clever about their loading screens like a lot of other companies do. Hide it behind things, behind animations, behind, you know, maybe brief story samples and shit. A lot of developers
I like that idea.
You know, like, it's not impossible.
No.
And I'm not saying that engine is not without its merits. Because of that engine, you know, it's created some of the richest worlds that I've fucked around in. Mm-hmm. But for it to be 7 games down the line and there's only been minuscule tweaks to get it to work, I just feel like they're dropping the ball. There's a connection miss there somewhere. And again, you know, they're the fucking billionaire video game developers. I'm just some asshole on a fucking microphone critiquing their games. So what my opinion for them, you know, they don't give a shit because they're going to do what works for them and their 30 to 90 developers. Mm-hmm. How many their fucking team has, but
they've got quite a bit more now. But when they did Skyrim, it was like 30.
Yeah.
It was like 30 employees did Skyrim.
But look what 30 people can do versus 3 times that with twice the resources. And how come it's not better? You know, like Starfield should have been Skyrim 2.0 in terms of reception and appreciation and legendary status. Because if I step back from my biasness of the Fallout franchise, I'd probably say Skyrim is their best game overall.
So forgive me, I did misspeak. I apologize. Again, no, fuck that. You know what? Fuck everybody. Am I right? There they are. Silent.
Yeah, they're probably like sleeping most of the time. They're like, Starfield? Fuck these guys.
A bunch of video game haters, I fucking bet. No, fuck you. Fuck you.
Well, get used to it, bitches.
Bitches, dude. Video games.
The mixing board is alive and well. We just don't use it as much. I don't know.
It's hard to incorporate it once we get on a roll. We have to remember it.
Well, and plus, like, it's such, speaking of dated, it's such a dated mixing board. We just do it for shits and giggles. I mean, I don't know. We're going to be upgrading to different ones, so these probably won't be forever, but they are for right fucking now. That is for sure.
They're great.
Are they not? Oh, you brought it out. Don't bring it out. I brought the fuck out.
Can't listen to it.
We found that right before we hit recording and had a good laugh, so
it's been more than a good laugh for that.
Yeah.
But for what I was about the development team, Skyrim was about 100. It grew out only to 150 for Fallout 4, but Starfield was 500 plus.
Interesting. That's ridiculous.
So it's ridiculous.
It makes me hate them even more.
It's upsetting. Like, oh, cool. You know what? I can forgive Skyrim fucking glitching a giant at my home base who murders my chicken and cow every time I load there. Mm-hmm. Because there's only 100 people who made that beautiful game.
Yeah.
I can't forgive Starfield for that. You fucks.
That's what I'm saying about, like, all of your arguments would have worked 15 years ago when Skyrim was out, and motherfuckers are over here being like, but all the loading screens. This is like 500 people fucking made this game, like 4 times the amount of people that made their masterpiece, and it struggles to run on an updated engine. And it's kind of pathetic. Like,
It is.
I think we give modern video games way too much fucking leverage. Like, we're totally okay with the patches. They can give us broken fucking games, and we're just supposed to sit here and be like, well, it'll be better in 6 months. Fuck you. You know?
It is a fucking bitch. I'll say that.
You know, it's like, it's great where gaming is because we should be grateful in the sense of, yes, they can patch the game and fix things that they could not do in the past, but some of those issues and glitches were part of the game's charm too. And none of those games really ever released so broken that you were like, well, they fucking ripped me off. We say that now, but we're like, fuck it. I'll come back to it in 6 months and it'll be good. And it's like, that to me is a cop out. It's some bullshit. And,
it is a cop out. And here's something else. The development time for Starfield was 7 years. So between Morrowind and Oblivion, there's 4 years. That's reasonable. Between that and Fallout 3 is 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years. Then we jump to Skyrim, 3 years. So we've got 3 off the bat hits for Bethesda.
Mm-hmm.
All within a span of about 5 years.
And it's funny to talk about that aspect with this in 2024 because back in the Nintendo and Super Nintendo days, 3, 4, 5 guys made games at the time. It was just, that was it. Like, you know, Mario Brothers, I think it was like a team of 5 dudes or something stupid. I mean, I can't confirm or deny that, but I remember reading back in those days the development teams were like 3 dudes in their mom's basement or some shit. No, that's not true. It wasn't their mom's basement. But you know what I'm saying? It was like a very small unit of guys made all these legendary fucking epic games that everyone remembers. And here these fucks are with a team of 500 and, you know, they're only going to be known because of the name recognition of Bethesda. When No Man's Sky pulled this exact stunt 10 years ago, or I don't know if it was quite that long ago, 6 years ago, fucking everyone was fucking pissed because they promised all these things. Bethesda did the exact same thing, but they only received a fraction of the backlash. Where No Man's Sky, they were like the biggest crooks in gaming history. And, you know, No Man's Sky was really just doing what everyone else was doing at the time and continues to do in 2024, which is release a broken, unfinished game for whatever reason, be it pressure from the studio to get the product out there. You've been taking long enough. The funding's getting too ridiculous and ballooning out, so release it. Whatever the fucking reason is, they think it's okay to go in after the fact and keep doing that to us. And I don't know. I got to question it at the end of the day. I think it's fucked up.
I got to stop and defend No Man's Sky.
I mean, it might be better now.
It is the biggest comeback in gaming history. That game now, from when it released, is a different beast. This game is crazy. But to your point, I believe it was almost a year or two into the development cycle, a flood happened in England and flooded their studio and they lost everything. So they had to start from scratch about 2 years into development. And Sony is known for not letting people bake things all the way in the oven, as we see with Spider-Man 2. Great fucking game, could have been.
That's my point.
But they didn't let it bake enough.
It's like the industry standard now. It doesn't matter what studio it is. And, you know, flood or no flood, I'm gonna be that guy. Delay the fucking game and release it the way you want to release it. Do not try, I mean, for whatever reason, just do the right thing. Like, we are the consumer. We're paying. That used to mean something. You know, people used to be grateful that their game, or maybe even for us, an example, their audience likes the product that they're delivering, and they're going to deliver a steady product. Now, obviously, nobody's paying us, but it works in the same sense of, like, time is money, and they're tuning in to us with their time to give us a shot, so we want to provide quality. It should be no fucking different for your blood, sweat, and tears money that you work for in, like, you know, the kind of environment where inflation's getting crazier and crazier, and a game costs $70 fucking dollars, which is almost a third of the cost of the entire console. You know, and it may not seem crazy, but for me, for them to, for us as the gaming community to just accept that and be like, fuck it, I'm still gonna get it, it'll be good later. I say, come back or not, No Man's Sky is the first fuck you on my list of, I can't believe you did that shit.
They have made a community. I'm on a bunch of communities in Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
The least toxic community I am in. I'm in Elden Ring communities, Star Wars communities,
I don't doubt
many
that.
communities, but I will say that the No Man's Sky community is the nicest and most grateful community I've been in. I can put on there, hey, I need this item or this amount of stuff. I'm having trouble finding it. Someone within a couple minutes will be like, what console, what's your username? And we'll meet up and they'll drop it for you. And nobody sits there and be like, learn to play, get good, blah, blah, blah. It's like a very welcoming community. And I think that also speaks to how great No Man's Sky is now.
I mean,
and I'm not saying you're wrong, though. It
No, I'm
released
not.
in a piece of shit state, a boring gay state, and it shouldn't be allowed. And we as consumers, you're right, shouldn't let this thing be passed. But
to your point, though, I don't think that while I agree that fandom these days is almost as toxic as it's ever been, I think there is crazy communities within like if you're ever on the Kanye subreddit,
oh God, Jesus,
or like even the Eminem one, those motherfuckers, as big of an Eminem fan and a Kanye fan that I am, I don't really fuck with those communities that much because they're fucking psychos.
They're fucking rough.
But
dude.
that's just all fandom in general.
Yes.
And I think, to your point, that like Elden Ring and games that are designed to be difficult versus leisurely type games like No Man's Sky, you're definitely still going to have that different dynamic. Like, you know, the game is more of a challenge, so those players are expecting a more harsh edge from the fandom and their fan base. And No Man's Sky, those developers seem like absolute fucking sweethearts. So that's why their communities are probably so fucking nice, because they went through that flood and, you know, they had all those hardships in making the game, and they've dedicated themselves for years now to make that game a true experience, versus Elden Ring, which is coming out to punish your balls, to fuck you up, to just piss you off. And like, Elden Ring's the easiest of all those fucking games they've come out with, though.
Oh, Jesus.
But all I'm saying is that harder edge, to me, I feel like it's something that should be expected from the Elden Ring community versus No Man's Sky, which is, the fandom is basically just, hey, we're just trying to explore the galaxy. And where that ties into Starfield is perfect, because, you know, the galaxy in Starfield is every fucking problem wrong with No Man's Sky when it first came out. And people are still playing this way more. And I think that ties back to the name recognition. It's Bethesda, so we're going to give it way more of a pass, even though No Man's Sky was a smaller studio with all those hardships and everyone shit all over them. So, fuck the industry standard. That's all I'm saying. Fuck it all.
You know, they get compared a lot, No Man's Sky in this. And here's what I'll say for a space game, No Man's Sky is the better game. Just in general, because that game, for a space game, if we're talking in smaller scopes, Bethesda might come out on top. But we're saying space games of what you can do, No Man's Sky is literally the definition of freedom to do what you want.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I've played.
They're two different games.
Passes, so.
They're two different games.
Yeah.
So it's hard to compare them outside of their space qualities.
I mean,
because No Man's Sky doesn't have a real story like this. Doesn't have side stories like this. It does, but they're like the main story is still going, and it's so like
What makes it relatable or relative though is like the exploration and the way it's done is
yes,
you're gaining resources and Starfield. A lot of the game, both games focus largely on that. For Starfield, it's got some story thrown into it, but with like you're saying with No Man's Sky, it's so much more hollow, and that they're both very similar in that regard. I think that's where everyone draws the comparison because you're running around Starfield with the cutter, you're checking out all these planets, and you're trying to, you know, gain whatever resources or things that you can collect along the way that will be beneficial for you later. Copy and paste the same fucking thing I just said for fucking No Man's Sky. I mean,
pretty much. Yeah.
those things are very in line. And I think that's the only reason it draws those comparisons, but they're both guilty of the same things, which is why I think it's an interesting point because 500 developers, like 25 developers, it's kind of fucked up.
It's that old saying, you know, either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. Bethesda has hit that kind of mark point where they're so big now they can't do what they used to do. They just can't. Like let's take a look at Fallout 3. Fallout 3 is a pretty dark game. For all its quirkiness, it's got a dark game. You've got super mutants imprisoning people, forcing viruses on them, turning them into mutants. You've got quite a bit of stuff. Fallout New Vegas, you have slaves. You can literally enslave people. And if they run, their head blows off. Like, there's just a lot of freedoms Bethesda has when they were a kind of a smaller company, where now they're in such a big spotlight and they're so big now they have to kind of adhere to these kind of more draw on the line instead of crossing the line. So they, the bigger you get in gaming, I feel like the more you're afraid to cross the line and you kind of tiptoe it more. And I feel maybe that's also kind of where they start to lose their quirkiness and stuff, because Skyrim, they hit it big. They hit it big. Fallout 4 comes out, people dislike Fallout 4, and it still loses kind of, like, people don't put Fallout 3 as or Fallout 4 as number one. It's always 3 or New Vegas. Always. Myself included.
Well, they're different games. They're not this. They don't really share any of the same qualities other than being called Fallout, being an RPG, and taking place in a post-apocalyptic, post-war era. So, other than those qualities, they're different. They don't have the dark humor. They don't have the, good or evil or neutral meter that's gone. So the impact that you play in the game, you don't feel it as much. The storytelling is way more lackluster. It's lazier, with a few exceptions, like the Silver Shroud thing in number 4.
Do like that.
That one's kind of similar to old school Fallout. But I think to your point though, New Vegas and Fallout 3 are them after an acquisition of the original franchise, which they largely wanted to retain a lot of that shit to get old school Fallout fans to be stoked about the third game. And when they went into development with that, they borrowed a lot of elements from the canceled Fallout 3 Van Buren, which was by, I think, Black Rock Studios, who went on to do New Vegas.
Who turned into Obsidian.
Right. And that is, I think, a big factor in that. But when everything became full Bethesda, and you're right, they blew up into this AAA developer because of Skyrim. And when it was time for Fallout 4, they played it too safe because they are appealing to a way bigger audience now. There's no slaves, there's no super dark shit. And all of that also hones back to Starfield. Starfield is so fucking PG, even though it's an M-rated game, that it disgusts me sometimes.
Absolutely.
Like the pirates and like we're talking about probably the most freedom a Bethesda game's ever given because of the space element.
Mm-hmm.
And with all of that in mind now, all these motherfuckers are acting like they're from Leave It to Beaver and shit. They're like, the worst thing they've done is fucking push you off your bike. You know, like that's how they act. I just don't. It feels too clean and too to the point, and all of that affects gameplay because it all comes back to why am I doing this? And that's why I quit the game the first time. Why am I doing this? Nothing really has an impact, especially when you finally finish the game, and it's not like traditional Bethesda experiences, and it does something that you haven't finished yet. So
Well,
I'm dancing around it like a fucking cheap club whore, but
I ain't got no ones for you. I got quarters.
there's just, I don't know. There's a lot to be desired in that gameplay, and it's unfortunate.
No, it is. But what do you feel about the look of the game? I mean, being honest, Bethesda's never been a top tier graphics kind of focused
Ever.
game ever.
Yeah.
Ever. So what do you think of Starfields?
It looks good. It doesn't look great, which is what I think the usual consensus is for them. Like, it looks good, but it could look so much better. It's probably their best looking game, as it should be for the modern era.
And 7 years and 500 plus people to develop it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. How do you feel about it? I feel like it looks better than previous games. That's all I can really say.
It has its moments. I play on PC exclusively because I don't have an Xbox anymore. But I play it on PC, and I do have moments where I'm, looking in first person at my gun and things in front of me, and I think like, holy shit, this looks fucking good. And then I talk to somebody, and they have this stone dead expression, but they have like their eyebrows moving to make it look like they're being expressive, and their facial animation is terrible for a game that took 7 years and 500 plus people to make.
It's
Because
so funny you say that.
it's rough. Why? What do you got here? What do you
Because
got?
well, that was one thing that I was thinking about last night or night before last that I was playing it. It just feels so stiff still.
Mm-hmm.
The character models could be so much better. Other developers have proved just how good they can nail that shit, and that's what I am so confused by. Like, Bethesda is a AAA developer now, so their graphics should be on par with everyone at this point. I don't give a fuck how big their game is.
Yeah, it's confusing. Obviously, size and mechanics play into it,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like you could do a little better than that, especially once you got the Microsoft money. Once you got the Microsoft money, I'm like, what the f are you doing? Like, that
happened right at the tail end of development, though, didn't it?
it happened, yeah, kind of more towards the end because Microsoft was worried that Sony was going to grab up Starfield as an exclusive, because the two previous games that Bethesda and ZeniMax as a publisher, they didn't, like, Bethesda itself didn't make them, but they did Deathloop and Ghostwire, and Sony grabbed both those up for kind of I believe a year-long exclusivity deal. I think it was like a year, but either way, they were afraid that Sony was going to pull that again, so they just bought ZeniMax, which is such a pussy move. Like, they're like, oh no, Sony might fucking get this game a year before us. Let's just buy the whole company. I mean, kind of Bruce Wayne-y.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's cutthroat business.
Kind of Bruce Wayne-y, but still a big ass pussy move. Just gonna say, like, that's a pussy move. I'm just gonna buy the whole fucking publisher that owns it all.
I think you mean that's a fucking big dick swinging in the room move. That is some Bruce Wayne, Tony Stark shit. Like,
It is,
I'm gonna buy this whole hotel, you know.
but
like,
it's because PlayStation's better as far as putting out games, original IP-ish, some of them.
yeah,
they've dominated the PS4 and this generation's market. So honestly, Starfield was kind of Microsoft's last real grab at trying to come close, even to the Switch. The Switch is still a phenomenal seller.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
And
Nintendo always does well.
always.
They could shine a turd and release it, and people would be like, whoa.
People are like, the same type of Mario game for 30 years straight? Fucking get it!
I respect the fuck out of Nintendo, but I have just really never been a fan.
Oh man, they are the kings of reusing IPs,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. They're like,
They should buy Bethesda, then.
oh,
Fuck yeah.
that would be fucking nuts. The game would run so shitty.
It would run so shitty, and we would get the same game, cycle after cycle. Wait a minute, how is that any different?
It's not. They shouldn't buy them. It's just the same thing.
I don't know. Like I said, graphically, it should look better.
Here's the thing. We have a Horizon Forbidden West. Came out on PS5. It came out a few years before this game. 2-3 years. PS5 era. That game looks so fucking good. Here's something also. The loading screens. The very few they have, they had to lengthen them so that people could read
Oh, yeah, I
the
remember
hints
that.
and stuff. Spider-Man did the same thing.
Yeah.
They had to slow down the loading screens so people could read like the hints or little tidbits they put on there. Imagine your game being that fast.
Yeah.
And Horizon Zero Dawn's open world is a seamless open world. No matter if you go into like this own area that you have to complete before you leave or anything, the game is seamless open world. And it's beautiful. It's amazing. I love it. And it's just, that's why I get so confused about Starfield. Starfield had the backing it needed money-wise.
Yeah.
It had the formula that Bethesda has had for years that has been successful, but somehow they just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Things just don't add up with the excuses too. Like, they'll be like, well, it looks a little bit worse than your standard game because it's so big. And it's like, look, your fucking game is taking up 100 gigs. Make it fucking work. I don't want to hear your shit. Like, I'm buying the console. I have all the room to spare. I bought the console for one fucking game. That's going to be a lot of people because Bethesda is owned by Xbox now, and they don't have shit for exclusives, really.
Not right now, yeah.
Some people did buy that console just for that game. I know I'm not alone. I saw it. Like, Bethesda fanboys are fucking nuts. And I'm one of them, like I said, which is so disappointing to, like, sit here and bash so much as Starfield, because I have genuinely had fun, and there are moments where I'm just looking at the game and I'm like, there are beautiful shots, but it could have looked so much better. Like, if you compare badass photo mode shots of Starfield, it looks pretty good. It's cool. You look at Red Dead 2, it's fucking way better.
And it's so unfair, I feel like. Rockstar in general is always been a tier higher than almost everybody else.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of these people, video gaming in general is now more like Hollywood than Hollywood is, like,
for sure.
So their big studios are all, obviously a lot of this comes down to studio pressure and funding and whoever is deeming it necessary for certain things. So I'm keeping all that shit in mind. I know people might be listening and being like, well, he just doesn't understand the inner world. I do. I don't want to hear those fucking excuses from billion-dollar companies. Just release, great products like Rockstar. Rockstar almost never misses. They used to all the time. Back in the PS2 era, they did all kinds of shit that was lukewarm and whatever. I mean, they had pretty good success with, like, Midnight Club. But I'm talking, slept-on games that don't get brought up very often. There's one right on the tip of my tongue, but I cannot fucking remember what it's called. State of Emergency. that game sucks. You know, it's terrible. It's like a real piece of shit. But it came out, they tried something, and they refined themselves over and over. And all the arguments we say about Bethesda gameplay wise and graphic wise, Rockstar had those struggles too. And look where the fuck they are now. Like, they put the money into their games and they came up with an idea that, you know, pumped people into giving them tons of money. And Skyrim tried it with their Elder Scrolls Online, or not Skyrim, but Elder Scrolls, and you know, it wasn't as successful, but everyone gives that shit a shot. I just feel like they focus on some of the wrong things, where Rockstar will release a game like Red Dead 2 where it checks every box in almost every category. And it's funny because even that game, I was slow to get into it. When it first came out, I played it a little bit, wasn't feeling it, came back to it, fucking one of my favorite games of all time. So, I'm not saying it can't happen, but the things that took me away from Red Dead 2 are some of the weirdest choices to not go with in Starfield in an industry where everybody is always copying everybody, i.e. like Arkham Combat, and then we see it in the Spider-Man games. Arguably refined, I guess you could say, by some people, but it's pretty fucking smooth in Arkham, so even all the way back to Arkham Asylum is still smooth.
Arkham Knight is pinnacle of that combat,
right?
Just all the things you can do, the different variations, the different combinations.
Mm-hmm. It's wild.
It's wild.
It makes you feel like Batman. That's one of the things about that gameplay that like people don't understand, is it ties so fucking well into his character, and they did it so well that a carbon copy of it for Spider-Man does work because of the way Spider-Man moves. But it doesn't at its core make me think, oh, that's Spider-Man, where it does work that way for Batman. Because
absolutely.
You know how he is, you know.
So you did just tell me you beat it.
Yeah.
What did you think of the story overall? What do you think of the side stories?
Some are cool and some are not. Some are lazy. Some are the same tried and true Bethesda bullshit. There are moments like finding the stray ship out in the middle of the galaxy that had launched before Earth's demise and all that shit, and they're still out there. That was pretty cool. Or like the casino ship, that everything was all fucking zero gravity and you're just floating around. That was kind of fun. It has its moments. I think it really shines in most of the faction side missions, like the Ryujin Industries and all of that shit. I think that's the more fun shit. There was even a couple of those missions for that where I felt like I was in Metal Gear Solid doing like some espionage shit, and it was cool. I liked it. The story, I'm never usually a huge fan of Bethesda main storylines.
They're not. I feel like they're not made to be good because, like you said, they're not that great. They're not something you get into, but all the side stories, not all of them, but a lot of the side stories, Skyrim, Fallout, all of them, kind of outshine the main story. And I wonder if they do that on purpose. Like, they're like, we'll make this main story kind of a generic, blah, 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 add some incremental choices here and there that can change stuff. But then they do these kind of outlandishly great side quest stories.
But they're pretty weak even still in Starfield because no other faction cares if you've joined a rival faction. Like,
that is true.
They don't give a fuck. They're just like in New Vegas, if you were part of Caesar's Legion, most of the map wouldn't even fucking talk to you.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
you're one of those guys.
You'd be blacklisted.
Fuck you. Yeah. And like that needs to be fed. If you join the pirates in Starfield, then you should be an outlaw everywhere you go. Like, there should be some kind of stipulation where you could wander around in established towns, but the second you misbehave, you're in a gunfight with local law, and it makes it feel like you're an outlaw. But while you're there, before you take action, people could be like spitting at your feet and being like, oh, this fucking pirate fuck, why is he here? and some people could be scurrying and running away or whatever. With the Freestar Collective, you would be like the badass heroes of the bunch or the self-perceived heroes. So when you walk into towns and shit with your swagger on, people could be like, ooh, Freestar Collective. There are comments like that from characters, but there's never anything directly related to you joining other factions or consequences other than very, very minuscule little stupid shit that at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. I think it should be more like, oh, you join those guys, you can fuck off. Don't talk to us.
You're done.
Yeah, get the fuck out of my face, because the game, every one of their games has quarrels with different groups of people, and you can do missions and be everyone's fucking.
Oh yeah, being
bitch,
part of the
basically.
railroad kind of fucked you two ways from the Brotherhood and the Institute.
Yeah.
So no, I get what you mean. The only one I can think of consequence is if you join the Crimson Fleet over the UC when you're supposed to spy for them. I think that one changes some stuff for you.
I got arrested or something like that for joining them. Like they put me in a fucking cell in the back and I reloaded because I didn't like that outcome.
Well, here's the fucking fuckery of the fucking fuck. I chose.
That's some fuckery.
It's some goddamn fuckery, dude. Thank you. Sorry,
I like fuckery.
They're too quiet today. But
we're not doing well, I guess.
We must not. They don't like Starfield either. I mean, I don't know why they don't like it, but
they're pussies.
In that same quest line, if you join the Crimson Fleet, that's like 1/3 of your fucking enemies when you land on the planets that don't fight you. Yeah, I blast them. Took me a second. I reloaded in my old save about 2 or 3 hours worth of fucking gameplay because I go to the planets and they don't want to fight me. They're my friends. Hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. The planets are already empty and dead for the most part.
Yeah.
So going to a planet and finding out the one enemy on it is your best friend was the lamest thing ever. I had to reload, and
I did that a
like
lot
that.
too. Yeah.
I didn't like that. Like they don't have enough enemies and enemy variation to kind of make that a viable option, in my opinion. Like,
right.
I want to kill the Crimson Dawn or the Crimson Fleet. I want to murder them. I want to murder all of them.
I tried, coincidentally. I was like, I landed on their ship. I docked.
Yeah.
And I fucking was like, I'm just going to waste all these motherfuckers because fuck them. And then they would hopefully turn on me everywhere I went, but I'd be weeding them out because I took out the main crew, right? But no. Bethesda had to do that shit again where too many of the characters or AI are unkillable. Where it's like they're essential NPCs, so they cannot be murdered. That shit pisses me the fuck off. The old games would let you do it, like, and it would just fail the mission. Yeah, you'd just be like, you have failed the mission. But the game was designed so cleverly that you could still finish the game if you fucked up a lot of that shit. It only wouldn't let you kill very few people.
Like the Grey Wardens and shit.
Yeah. And this is just like, for as shitty as the Crimson Fleet is, I don't want to fucking have them around. I should be able to ice all of them. I'm an intergalactic gangster. That's my character. I'm motherfucking Al Capone of the skies. So it's like, I'm hustling shit. I'm smuggling shit into planets. I'm fucking killing people and making backdoor deals with all these other companies, but I can't kill the main enemies of the game. That is the least gangster shit of all time. And gangster is one of the fucking 3 perk choices you have in the beginning of the game. So it's like, I should be able to kill those motherfuckers. All of them. Their captain, all of them. I mean, it shouldn't matter if I don't do their missions. I don't want to. You know, the only reason I did is the reason you said, because now I don't have to get into a fucking ridiculous space battle, especially early on when you don't even know how to fucking play the game and you're just getting blasted out of the sky. Oh my god, dude. In the early stages of that game, that was another thing. I'm like, there's no real tutorial. You're just like, here's your ship. Good fucking luck out there. Like, what the fuck?
I remember, yeah, I didn't have too much crazy trouble with that.
I admittedly am not the best gamer. Like, I'm by no means out here fucking, yeah, bro, I just fucked up everyone. But I think there usually needs to be a way to ease you into that in a new feature for a game like that. There's
Yep.
not a lot of space combat games, so you need to have a bit of a tutorial. And again, disguise the tutorial like you would the fucking loading screens into moments where you're learning it. They have you do, I mean, the game does do have you do it, but it's so much later in missions,
Yeah,
or it's
yeah.
broken off into like side missions that it's a fucking game where you can do whatever you want. How the fuck do they know what you're gonna do first, you know? Like, so it needs to be implemented into the main quest line in the first early stages of the game and just have you learn instead of throw it at you like a motherfucker. Fuck that. Fuck that.
Hey. Fuck Bethesda.
No, the cool thing is that Dre is always with us.
He's always in the house.
Oh, yeah.
He's the dude that doesn't die.
I can't wait to do an episode on not only the NWA, but Dr. Dre. He'll have to have his own, even with only the 2 albums. You know, his career as a producer.
His producing
is
career
wild.
is, yeah, it's crazy. So
That's what's so great about Deep Dive, because you'll be talking about one fucking thing and then you're just like, oh, that's a topic. That's an episode.
gotta deep dive it.
Hell yeah.
Comment your moms. I'll deep dive her. Just so you guys know, hit me back. Just a chat.
So how do I feel about the game as a whole? I don't know.
You don't know?
I'm skipping ahead a little bit because I think we need to talk about immersion. And I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on immersion, being a longtime Bethesda fan as well.
Yes. Yes.
And we talked a little bit about the game lacking that charm and charisma. And I'm curious of your thoughts of, yeah,
It's
it's an important element. You know?
it is when it comes to gaming, and I think that's kind of where my problem also lies with Starfield and why I haven't finished it. Why I'm restarting now just so I can make sure I remember everything that goes on.
Yeah.
Is part of the immersion. I just feel with all the loading screens and all this pause time and everything, I get pulled out so much. I'm in this space station murdering people, fucking having a good time. Sarah's not liking any of it. It's going great.
Sarah is just fucking, she hates everything, dude.
She hates me.
It's funny because I'm married to Sarah, but I don't travel with Sarah. She's like my wife and shit, but I was like, I'm tired of your shit. I'm gonna leave you on my ship, and I'm friends. Yeah, I'm friends with Andrasia or whatever her name is.
Yep.
And she fucking goes with me everywhere. So basically, I'm just a cheating asshole in that game, I guess. We don't do nothing, I swear.
I divorced Sarah to marry Andrasia, so it's and I keep Sarah on my ship with me at all times, so she gets to see it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
rubbing her
Sarah.
face in it.
Yeah, fuck Sarah.
She bitches about everything. She'll bitch when she's not even my companion. She'll like, Sarah disliked that. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Fuck
like,
off.
bitch, you fuck Sarah.
Yeah.
But
I like
I'm actually a Karen in Starfield. I'm a goody two shoe.
What do you mean? You're like complaining to all the game's managers and shit?
Every time I go into into everywhere, I put a Yelp review on there. Fucking hate it. This place sucked.
Fuck Terra Brew. They fucked up my coffee.
Dude, I just don't I don't think it has enough for it to immerse me in it. And like I said, the loading screens are a big part, but I think it's also the kind of super stiffness they have.
Yeah.
I think maybe because I can forgive it when I go back and play Fallout 4 them, because I'm like, they're older games.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's kind of hard because they're really stiff.
Yeah.
So you talk to them and they're just like, they got eyebrows that move really good and their cheeks kind of move, but it's a dead stare. It's fucking like nothing's going on in the background. They've got lights out, but they're still talking.
Yeah, they don't feel natural. Sometimes they do, but like
It depends on the characters.
it really, yeah, it's like they'll put more effort into. Yeah, exactly.
And
But even her, as interesting as she is, she's still pretty stiff. It's something with the animation. They all seem like, oh, you're talking to me at this moment. Well, let me explain to you everything in monotone, and then you can decide what to do from there.
But I'm gonna move my mouth kind of ridiculously obnoxious so you can see that my lips are moving.
Yeah, and that breaks immersion.
Exactly.
And the in-game economy breaks immersion because you're telling me I'm gonna steal a fucking ship, and a ship is only worth like 26,000 credits, but I still gotta pay fucking 10,000 credits to make the ship mine just so I can sell it. I just don't. So I'm getting 16 grand for stealing a ship. Why am I bothering? I can make more doing a bounty mission, I don't know.
Where the fuck are the chop shops for being a game that you could be an outlaw in and a fucking pirate?
Yeah.
They're missing a lot of chop shops where I can take my unregistered vehicle I acquired peacefully to you to sell and chop up for me. No, it doesn't exist, and it does suck, and that's why I'm a Karen in the game. I'm a fucking goody two-shoe, and Sarah still doesn't like it, bitch. Because becoming an outlaw, I see no benefit for me in it. I get more money being a regular good guy. I don't have to worry about the stupid scanning my fucking plane, and I can only have a 30 or 40% chance they won't catch the organ I have that I tried to take from Sarah.
I fucking hate that
dude,
shit. It is so stupid. Why is it fucking there?
Sense. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, they make it being make it being a minor bad guy, just a bitch.
There's no, like, I mean, you can make arguments for being a good guy in games because you get like discounts at stores. Everyone loves you. You usually get like housing or like whatever. There's benefits to being a good guy, but there's benefits to being a bad guy because I can just walk into a space hotel, fucking wipe out everyone, rob all their corpses, and leave. And yeah, that's a dickhead thing to do, but I mean, those used to be the options of the game based on the whole point is to role play. Like if they're presenting me with an option where I'm just like, all these people seem like creeps, so they're fucking weirdos. I'm going to just wipe them all out. Fuck them. They're up to no good or something. And that might still be the bad thing to do, but it's not the villainous thing to do because you're getting a bad vibe from them. And that takes away the role-playing element when there is no consequence or an extreme consequence. Starfield doesn't know how to commit to either side. It's like, oh, you did the best thing in the world? Okay. You cannot be a bad guy. You can be the best hero, but don't even think about being a bad guy.
Be a bad guy, I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, the old games did it so much better with the evil neutral.
The karma system. The death of the karma system fucking ruined a lot of games and their emergent, and especially Bethesda games. Taking it out of Fallout 4, one of the worst fucking decisions. Skyrim didn't really matter because it was just based on if you wanted to be with Ulrich or fucking the Stormcloaks or whoever, the Empire. But the karma system ruined it, or no, didn't ruin it. Them deciding to remove the karma system ruined any reason for me to be bad, because now, like especially now, it's even harder to be it. Like there's no real fun in it because you get caught with that fucking organ in your car and you're arrested. You don't even get to really fight it out.
Mm-hmm. No, you just pay the bounty and lose the item and go to jail.
And sometimes I've picked up items on accident that were fucking bad. I'm going to the planet and it's like beep 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 beep, and it's like you're fucked.
Yeah, it's
warning, you are fucked.
Another game that was pretty recent that did have the karma system that is fucking awesome. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Of course.
I'll bring that game up as much as fucking possible because that game is fucking great and it's only from 2018 and it's still out here fucking putting other games to shame.
Putting them to shame.
And it's funny to me because what's the reasoning to taking out the karma system for a game like Starfield or Fallout 4 when they're completely based on choices.
Choice.
Where a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 has all those choices, but it's a game about making better choices. What kind of ironic shit is that? Like, don't give us the option to. What? Why? The whole game is based on that. There's like lore you're supposed to follow if you're the hero, and there's lore you can follow if you're the villain. I mean, so to take it out, it breaks immersion. It just, I don't know, and that's where I feel the game lacks, is the immersion, because I could forgive all of the other shit if it still had that Bethesda charm. Like, what random shit am I gonna walk into and get myself involved in that, makes me rethink my decisions or reloads the game, which we talked about happening, but only for one mission with the Crimson Fleet, because they back you into a corner, and it's just crap. It's a crap immersion technique. It's just bullshit, because the game is rich with other great elements and fresh ideas, but
it is. And one shout out I will say is the mission for the UC Vanguard, the faction mission with the Terramorphs. I fucking love those missions. They gave me this weird alien vibe. There's a character Hadrian in there, and the suit she's wearing, I don't know if it's purposeful or me just trying to connect it, but it's kind of rippled the way like Ripley's was.
Rippled? Like
rippled?
Ripley?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. It's Ripley rippled. And I don't know. To me, it gave me this kind of alien feel, and it had a horror feel with it as well. With action. I don't know. It resonated really well with me, and that kind of circles back to the thing I was saying about the side missions outshine the fucking main story. And they know it too. They may hate Bethesda games, but
they just like side stories. But you hear how absent they are on side devs. They don't say shit. They're like, fuck Practical. He doesn't know shit.
They're shy. For them, they're shy dives.
Yeah, I mean, that could potentially have always been true for Bethesda games, because I will admit that I spend way more time doing side missions in all of their games than I do the main missions. And maybe that's why I don't usually like the main story. But I'm never interested in that in a Bethesda game. Yeah. What excites me right away is, cool, it's a big fucking sandbox. I can be whatever warrior, badass hero, or badass villain, or neutral, political. You can do whatever you want in those games, and that's why I'm there. But you have to have a world built around that concept that works. And, like I said, the game has a lot of positives, which we should definitely touch on, because I've been shitting on it at least the whole fucking time. But I do like the game too, so it's like,
I like it too. Like I said, it just has a lot of qualities that don't make it a Bethesda game for being a Bethesda game.
Yeah.
And one thing I did just want to say about it was the karma system in this game, I think, would have propelled the option of being an outlaw more desirable. Because I feel like if they would have concentrated more on the good and the bads of what you can or can't do, would have just made it more enjoyable for me. Because when I first heard of this game, I heard of Phil Spencer, the fucking head of Xbox, being like, yeah, I'm a space pirate. I'm going around just murdering and taking stuff when I want. And I was like, dude, that's exactly what I want to be. I take one person's itsy bitsy little organ. Just their little organ, and I'm fucked.
Well, and it's like, that's you. The first thing you think of when you're like, okay, I'm going to jump in a game where I'm free to roam space in my own ship. I'm going to be Han Solo.
Fuck yeah.
Like, I can harvest organs and shit. Oh man, hell yeah. Like, I'm going to smuggle shit for gangsters, but there's really none of that in the game because they're constantly putting you behind this, like, you broke the law, fuck you. Give us what you stole, pay us, you're going to jail. It's also monotonous, and it's like, I don't even care about any of that shit. I do still steal all that shit, just so I can feel badass in my own way.
Yeah.
So I'll fly. My home base is on Earth still. I think that's what. So I built because it's like there's really no threat there. There's no one can attack my base. There's the only thing that ever happens there is the villains of the game. Well, they're not really villains. They're kind of villains.
House Varun.
No, the in the main storyline.
Oh,
the Starborn.
Starborn.
The
yes.
Starborns will come down to my Earth base and try to attack me and fuck with me
because
after
they're trying to steal your shit.
Yeah,
yeah, they're trying to steal your artifacts back.
But they still show up even after that shit.
Oh.
It's weird. They'll land on the planet and come and run and attack me, and I'm like, what the fuck? But anyway,
fuck you guys.
But I built it there. And I'll fly to Earth with my stolen antiques. The other day I stole some smuggled antiques. I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll do that.
I'll take it.
Smuggled organs. There was one other thing. I think it was just contraband. But I'll take it back there and I'll put it in chests that I have in my base that I'm like, yeah, I smuggled some shit.
I've got 30 livers I'll never do anything with.
The only place that's regulated in the Sol system is Mars because of Neon. Yeah. And see, that's another thing that I gotta bring up is the cities. I love all the cities on the different planets. Like Aquila City is cool, New Atlantis is cool, Neon is cool. There's just not enough of them. There needs to be so many more. The game has 1,000 planets. 1,000. Over 1,000. I think that fucker said over. So,
but only 10% of them have life.
I know, and that, I mean, I get it from a realistic standpoint why they did that, but I don't fucking want realism while I'm playing a fucking video game. This isn't Christopher Nolan, the movie, goddammit.
This isn't
like
fucking Interstellar.
I want to have that fantastical shit. There are no aliens. Which is stupid.
That
is fucking stupid.
Pisses me off is that they had a chance to make aliens. And to make you be able to play a fucking alien.
They
like
said Skyrim in space, goddammit.
You could be a fucking reptile in Skyrim. It pisses me off. They could have done at least one alien race and done an extra city. Mm-hmm. Or they could have done 3 alien races. Yeah. And the next two like planets are DLCs to see their planet.
Exactly.
Something like that, you know? But the lack of not having aliens and diversity,
it's weird,
pisses me off.
It's 2024, bro. If I want to be a fucking Terra morph bite from the planet Fucktar, I should be able to identify as that.
Heard of Fucktar.
This is what the fuck, Bethesda. Why are you fucking discriminating against aliens?
Why are you holding out,
fucking bitches? No, but really, I mean, think about it. Think about making those bounty decisions as an alien bounty hunter. That would make it feel so much more immersive because you're walking around with just a bunch of humans and it's like, cool. They're cool. They're just like, oh, human? Cool. It's just, I don't know.
Bethesda or Fallout 4 has more variety. You at least get a ghoul.
But that's also something that I would love to see in Fallout 5 is
a ghoul.
A ghoul and a super mutant in the create a character options.
Oh.
Because, I mean, we've seen that both non-feral ghouls and highly intelligent super mutants can integrate themselves into the worlds. So it's not really that crazy to think like I could be Gore, the crazy fucking super mutant that's actually the hero and saves the fucking day. Or whatever. Sure. Or as a bad guy. Bring the fucking Karma system back. God damn
it, dude. The death of the Karma system is a tragedy in gaming.
It's bullshit.
But it sucks.
But
on a positive note for Starfield.
Let's talk about positives.
Let's do it. It's time. Let's do it.
All right, so
here's a positive for you. I'm going to shoot this at you.
Let's do it.
It's in fucking space, and I'm a sucker for space.
No, and that is like one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to go back to it. Yep. Because we had watched Alien Romulus a couple weeks ago. We watched Alien. I was just thinking about Space Odyssey the other day. I popped it in. I watched it.
Nice.
I watched Inception, and right after I did that, I was like, dude, I miss Starfield. And that's cool because there's really not that many of those games. I didn't care for Mass Effect. No Man's Sky can lick my balls because I'm not playing a fucking game 6 years removed from their original intention. I don't fucking care what the reason is. I'll give Bethesda that because, again, name recognition. It's bullshit and it
Fuck
works
you,
for
man.
them.
Hello Games.
It's
Deserves
bullshit,
it.
dude.
It is bullshit.
But
bias. That's bias.
it is biased. I'm
That's
admitting that it's
biased.
biased, but I would rather give Bethesda my attention and my money because they've paid off in the past and I'm a fan of them versus No Man's Sky, where it's like, you made all these promises, you let me down, you let us down, and yeah, it might be great now. I'm not knocking those guys. More power to them. My bigger gripe is the industry itself and not that game. But if I'm in the space mood, I'm gonna play fucking Starfield or fucking Jedi Republic or what the fuck?
Oh, Fallen Order.
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order.
I don't know why I
Survivor.
fumbled that so hard, but there's so many Star Wars games. But both of those games were pretty fun.
I love them.
Outlaws looks like it's pretty mixed reviews from around people that I know, but everyone I know is still playing it, so I'll check it out at some point.
I'm playing it right now, and I think it is a beautifully crafted Star Wars game with a okay story.
We'll do an episode on it because I do
Yes.
plan on playing it, and I don't want to make judgments based on what I've heard from other people. So I hate doing that. That's just not me. I don't.
That's
do
the
that
majority of the internet and name recognition. Most people won't play it because their automatic thought is Ubisoft
shit. Fuck
sucks.
them. Yeah.
So they'll just immediately be like, "Well, this game sucks because it's made by Ubisoft."
Yeah.
6 times out of 10, I'll say you're probably right. But Ubisoft puts out bangers. They make some misses. They're a little generic.
Mm-hmm.
But fuck, some of their games I'll never forget.
I've
The
loved a
second
bunch of their
Assassin's
games,
Creed,
yeah.
I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Edio Auditore.
Black Flag.
Black Flag.
I mean, they're not without their merits. So, but again, that's the whole point. And that's why you go out there and you make more games because you build that reputation and you prove like we can do this. And I'm sure No Man's Sky, those developers down the line, are probably going to make another, at least equally well received or better game in their future, if they're not scarred from all the shit they went through with this game. But
They've come out with, I think, a game or two.
since No
Yeah,
Man's
but
Sky,
they're an indie studio, so I think they just came out with, it was called, I believe, The Last Campfire.
oh yeah,
But
yeah.
they're an indie developer. The fact that they did No Man's Sky on such a massive scale is interesting.
Yeah,
But they're
For
just
sure.
an indie developer, so I don't feel like outside of No Man's Sky, they'll ever get recognition for their smaller games.
there's a lot of great
But
indie games too, though.
there
you
is.
know? And it's just like we talked about how they're more like Hollywood now, and that was true of movies back in the day. There was a lot more sleeper hits or underground movies or B movies,
Yep.
and we're in that era for video games. So that is cool. A couple I really like are like Limbo. I thought that game was awesome.
Limbo is great.
It's really fucking hard for me. I suck at it, but I love it visually. There was a game called Counter Spy. I fucking love that game. It was just a stealthy little
Yeah. And it was a
shooter.
simple stick figure in the
Yeah,
black,
uh-huh.
and you had to get through the base like a fucking James Bond almost.
Shovel Knight. Was pretty cool for what
Yeah.
it was. Nice throwback to Castlevania.
Indie
it's out
indie
there.
games are good
Yeah.
these days. Like they're interesting. They're very original.
Yeah.
And it makes them hard to play but fun to play at the same time because they do throw you so far out of the realm.
Yeah, and that's they're smaller, so their expectations are lower. So they'll try new things. They'll try more things, and it pays off in the gameplay. For
It
those
really
games,
does,
'cause
and
you
it-
remember them.
And it helps kind of games later on.
Mhm.
And especially if you develop, as long as you can hold on to your merits, unlike Bethesda.
Yeah,
Someone told them, let's not do a karma system. Fire them.
yeah. Fire that guy.
Fire
no
those
vacations.
fuck.
Fire. Fuck that guy.
No severance package.
Yeah, kick his ass. Seabass.
Their kids got to go to public school now.
Mhm.
The little fuckers.
It was probably Todd Howard.
Send his adult ass kids to fucking public school now. That's
But some other positives of the game. One thing I mentioned early on, I'll kind of just do a brief recap real quick of all the positive shit for me.
Yeah.
One of them is the animations, like I said, in the gunplay. They look smooth. They look
They
cool.
do look good.
I feel like a badass while I'm fucking around with it. And then that's something I always look for in the game. The attention to detail is there because we have the spaceship customization, and I can change my weapons and mod stuff like that, like just like in Fallout 4, so you can really make those experiences your own. The resources are very scarce early on, so does encourage you to get out there and check some different planets out and get some different areas. And there's lots of cool shit. I do think the AI point of interest thing being randomly generated is a cool feature. I just think it needs to be deeper so we're not experiencing the same shit all the time. But I do like the idea of it. I think it does play out interestingly in a bunch of areas. Graphically, I think the overall visual aesthetic of the game looks good. It looks like their own take on what their version of space is, and I liked that from the jump too. I think the music is great, and I think a lot of the side plot stuff is really good. But that stuff mixed with the bad stuff we talked about, that's pretty much where I am for positives and negatives. I mean, what do you think are the strong points overall? Because I know you are a big Bethesda guy too, honestly. Like, maybe not big, but I know you're a fan of at least 4 or 5 of those games, like I am. So.
I've played a lot of 76, even though I don't very much like that game. Played a lot of it. I tried to like that game, but some highlights for the game definitely are the graphics. They may not be up to the par of other games these days, but for a Bethesda title, they are on point.
Yeah.
Really great looking game for Bethesda. But the smoothest Bethesda game. It's in space. I love that. Some of the side missions I like, but it sucks because I'm trying to think of positive reasons for Starfield, and surprisingly, I don't have as many as I thought I would.
It's one of those things where when you're playing it, you're like, oh, all this shit is cool. But when you're talking about it, you can only think of the shit that pisses you off.
I mean, ship customization too. Like in my last save, my ship was fucking huge, but I made sure that it was also powerful and maneuverable, so I could fly through everything and murder people and not worry.
Yeah.
And you could do, and I've seen some of the builds people have done. They've done incredible builds.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool aspect of the game, and I always love when you can build your own ship type stuff.
Oh, fuck
always.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Kingdom Hearts.
Customization of any kind.
I spent hours in the gummy ship menu, like 1 and 2, just designing my ships.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, so I really like that about the game. I'm going to say it again because it's in space. Fucking love space games, but they don't do enough of them.
Yeah.
There's not enough for me.
I feel like this game gives me blue balls with it, though. It's like it's space, but it's like with the alien thing we talked about.
Yep.
Like it could have so many other angles that it just robs.
It sucks because I know we're saying positive things, but man, it sucks because space is still a fantasy.
Right.
Like we're in the age where we can go to space, but we can't leave too far from Earth. The moon. We haven't been to the moon in 50 years.
Right.
More than that. We've 60, 70 years maybe now. So space is still fantastical. It's still so much unknown, so much you can play with, so much room you have.
Mm-hmm.
And they made Skyrim, they made Oblivion, Morrowind. But yet their ambitions were so small, they didn't want to include aliens of any intelligence.
Yeah.
Maybe that's weird. A statement they're making. They don't believe in aliens, pussies. But
no, it's part of the story, the main story, that we just never found other life, and that's the way they explain it out with like one line of dialogue in a way.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, why?
And I remember
it's
that.
Fucking
and
lazy.
The main point or part of the excitement of the main story is they think that intelligent people designed the artifacts or that
Right.
it was a race or something. I haven't finished it, so I don't know. But point being, even still with that added in, it's a fucking cop out for me because we
Totally.
should have been able to be an alien. We should have had him at least in the games, in the world. It would have made the world richer.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. Here's a positive thing. Bethesda, these cities do feel alive. There's like, especially in Neon, it's crowded.
No, yeah.
It's crowded.
Neon feels like
which
Blade Runner or some shit to me.
No, it does.
Yeah.
It's got a cool aesthetic feel to it, and that really kind of cyberpunky, like dark grittiness they do to it. It's cool, but that's something that Bethesda did listen to everybody, because I know in Skyrim and Fallout 4, people were pretty like, why is everything so fucking empty?
Yeah.
And they rectified some of it with the later Skyrim versions, but the PS3 version, it was kind of dead.
Fuck, I don't even know. I played it later, towards the end of its life on the PS3. I was very late to the party on that.
Same.
But by the time I played it, I fucking fell in love with it immediately. I thought it was so sick.
Here's an example of how unimportant I feel the main story is.
Mm-hmm.
My best friend has played Skyrim more times than I can tell you, but he's never beaten the game.
Yeah,
He's
I've heard that about a lot of people.
Never finished the story, but he's played the game hundreds of times, different characters. Like, he does restriction builds where he can only follow certain rules.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because Skyrim has so much replayability.
That's what I mean. You don't have to do the main story.
No, and that's one thing that's great about Bethesda games, is that the main story isn't usually so monumental, like this crazy thing that there's so much focus on it. It's like, hey, you can shout, we're wardens, congrats, party, go do something, and you're out there fucking shit up. It's great.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I feel that's something they did keep in Starfield, because the main story is cool and all. I love aliens, but I don't give two flying fucks about the fucking artifacts or what's going on with the constellations. I like a lot more what's going on with them all individually. Andreja, Sarah's even got an interesting life. She was, a fucking drummer for a band? Like, all this other stuff. Cole is like some gay cowboy. I don't know if he's gay, but I think he's gay. The way he wants to come on to me is insane. I gotta, slow down, cowboy. So I find a lot more interest in all these other side characters, as I normally do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I play a Bethesda game.
No, I feel you. I mean, I think that's how they want you to approach it. Is just do whatever you want. You're eventually going to have to fall in line to the story if you want to finish the game.
Yeah.
But I kind of like doing that later in the game, because I've experienced the world around me, and now I'm going in.
And now you're done. You're closing the book.
I will say I don't really care for the main storyline either, but the Starborn aspect of it is very cool.
Okay.
There's kind of a spoilery thing that I can't really talk about yet. And we'll cover it maybe just in a brief conversation in another episode, but it is cool, and it's the most interesting thing about Starfield, but you don't find out until the very end. And I think that it's an interesting spin on the RPG choice system, and I think you'll probably enjoy it. I mean, at least I hope so, if you don't know about it already. I know you said you've read a lot of spoilers, but for the sake of not wanting to be that guy, I cannot say until you finish the game.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
It's the only positive I can't mention at the end here, because this is actually probably our only spoiler-free video so far. With movies and shit, we're just fucking like...
We're laying it out, the whole story.
Throwing it down. But I think this game is still pretty fresh. It's only a year out, and like I said, for me, the point of the video is to get people to maybe go back or to go to it for the first time, because in spite of all the flaws I've mentioned, if you love that big immersive, I can do whatever I want game, this is that game, but in space.
Of course, I love it in space. That's That's just a stupid selling point. That's how people can sucker me into anything, even if it sucks. They're like, "Oh, dude, let's go see this movie. It's about two stupid people doing stupid things." I'm like, okay.
But they're in space.
Then I'm like, all right, let's go. Fucking, why didn't you just start off with that? Jeez.
I mean, I think in a video game world, it hasn't really been explored that much. There are things, obviously, even in the Nintendo days, like Star Fox and shit, where there's that space element and, it's there, but I think for modern gaming, it's a nice place to maybe try a new IP with, because it's worked in the past, like Mass Effect. Those games are huge.
I love it.
I'm not
I
a fan
love
of those
them.
games even in a
All
little bit,
four of
but I know they're big to a lot of people. Or even Gears of War is not a space game per se, but it has that futuristic feel where there are space elements to it, and I don't know, it's cool. I think space is a really interesting approach to really anything. Movies have done it probably the most from what I've seen.
For sure.
And TV shows and shit, but it's always interesting. Obviously Star Wars being the biggest, and Battlestar Galactica, the things that have been around for a while. I always like Firefly.
Oh,
Firefly's tight.
Haas Whedon, right?
Yeah.
Again, and with Nathan Fillion, it was such a great show. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then there was the movie to cap it off with Serenity. I kind of like when that happens.
I do too, and I like that they at least finished it, because I really liked Firefly. I thought it was equal parts funny, cool, and in space.
In space.
In space.
So for me, overall, I don't think this episode will be quite as long as our other ones, just based on, we covered most of it, but my final thoughts, anyway, are Starfield is a fun game that will only get better with time and patches, but fuck you, gaming industry.
Fuck you.
Fuck you guys. Just release your game complete. Stop relying on the ability to patch it later. While that has its perks and its merits, you shouldn't be fucking fallbacking on it. That's some bullshit. And also, fuck you, gaming community, for not voting with your wallet and enabling this shit. You can vote with your wallet to kill record stores, but let these video game companies rape you. You're fine with. That's fine. Just let them keep taking your money. It's some bullshit, really. But,
I'm
honestly,
a sucker to it.
Fan feedback is great, though. I think that's one positive for the patches. They can look at things and be like, well, just like with the Rev 8, we wanted this land vehicle from the jump. Sorry, we're stupid and didn't think about it. But hey, fans, thanks for giving us the idea and pushing us to do it. And it was actually Phil Spencer who pushed the envelope to get the Rev 8 done. So I do like that he's listening and being like, well, we bought you, motherfuckers. The people are saying they want this, so fucking do that, But for me, we need to hold these companies to a higher standard. We stop excusing their bullshit.
We should.
Because we still buy their games either way. That's the fucked up part.
I absolutely do.
And it makes me mad that they know that, because it's like, well, you're going to contribute to the problem whether you like it or not, bitch. Fuck you. And I get it, but I just wish, if anyone out there is listening that makes video games or has some kind of say in that shit, don't be a Randy Pitchford. Don't be a Terrence Howard. Be a fucking Rockstar. Rockstar games, they very rarely launch with any issues and have to patch it later, other than your standard glitches and maybe graphical complications or save things, whatever it may be.
Whatever it is.
That stuff is understandable. They fix that shit. But to not finish your game and release it incomplete, I just once again gotta say, fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. But I will say,
wake up.
6.5 to 7 out of 10 for Starfield. Having finished it now, I wish I could give it like a 9 or a 10, because that's what I want to give it. But I just got to be real. But I mean, what do you think about Bethesda's most recent effort and what it means for their future, and your overall thoughts of this game?
I think they flippity floppity this one. But it has my sympathies.
I'm sorry,
in
they
ways.
what? They what?
They flippity floppitied. They flippity floppitied on this, man. It's fucking. They fish out of water. This one, fish in space, probably more like it. But I honestly, I give it the same score I give Star Wars Outlaws right now, which is about a 6.5 too.
Mhm.
I like them both for different reasons. But anyways, we're talking about Starfield. It doesn't deserve anything higher. It's just lacking so much of what they could have done with this game for such a long development cycle. $400 million to develop the game, 500 plus people. Yep.
What? $400 million?
$400 million.
Oh shit! I didn't know that. We need to redo the whole episode because I got.
Oh,
way
that
more
changes
shit to say.
episodes. Oh, that changes episodes. It changes the rhetoric, everything.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
500 million to make Grand Theft Auto 5 back
That's
on the
why it's
PS3.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like alarmed at hearing that. I'm like, I mean, granted, they did improve GTA 5 over time, but all they really did was make it denser in the cities and have a little bit more going on. When it launched, it was impressive at the time.
For
Like it always
PS3,
is.
what
Yeah.
it was. Oh, yeah.
So
And
to hear that budget in contrast with that and for what we got, I don't know. Where's that money going? How many cars does Terrence Howard have?
I mean,
Where's he live?
development costs are spectacularly known for ballooning on games like this, but probably 200 million of it was marketing.
Oh, for
A
sure.
lot of times, I think the game is probably 200 million to make, 200 million for marketing, which is so crazy that when you budget in this stuff, you got to remember that you got to spend more on marketing than you do the game.
Now, I don't know how true it is, but I read recently somewhere that when we read a budget on a movie or a video game, that doesn't include the marketing budget. People were telling me those are in two different categories when they. So
It depends. Grand Theft Auto 5 was included. The 500 included the marketing budget. Black Adam. It was a $300 million movie, but it was like 160 million of it was marketing.
I mean, for movies, though, I expect those inflated, ballooned out numbers because they have AAA actors and all this shit. Where, GTA 5 had some voice acting that was not necessarily superstars, but they had to
No.
pay all those people. Where Starfield, it's like, none of them stand out. They could be cardboard cutouts of anybody, like I said. So it doesn't, I don't know. The budget just doesn't seem to match the final product there. Maybe I'm exposing my own ignorance, but it just seems, I don't know. I mean, it costs less money to make a better looking game. I guess I could give it that.
Well, maybe it makes more sense if you imagine the 200 million, we'll say, across 7 years. So you're paying 7 years of salary, 7 years of developmental costs, so 7 years. And it only equaled out to about $200 million. I mean, is it that bad? Is that bad? Long development time.
It's just the shock of hearing the 400 million. Like, yeah, you can throw in the marketing and then the 7 years and the salaries, and that makes sense. But hearing a lot goes into making a game, just like a lot goes into making a movie. So when you hear a number like that, you're instantly like, 400 million. I don't feel like there's 400 million worth of work even with those things said. Like you said, we can go to 10% of the planets. It's really just a standard size game ballooned out by the illusion of all this extra space travel that really isn't even there. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like there's some bogus ass shit there. That's wild. But
Red Dead 2, $540 million to make.
But I feel like that money is there, dude. That's like one of the most alive worlds ever.
Here's here's something, and this is a big contention with a lot of people about the 30 FPS, 60 FPS, this type of thing. It matters in certain games.
Yeah.
If you can do it right. I've always used this comparison because it's a perfect one. 30 frames per second is what Gotham Knights runs. That game looks and runs like shit.
The game's not good. Another ball
optimization
right
wasn't a priority. I will jump between the games. I cannot tell that Red Dead 2 on the PS5 is 30 FPS. The game runs so good, and the way it's been optimized, everything, I can't even imagine what it's like with 60.
Right.
Because it seems so good, so crisp, that it doesn't matter. Like the 30 FPS in that game, are you kidding me?
You can bet your ass that there will be a Red Dead 2 deep dive. There'll be just a Red Dead Redemption deep dive where we talk about 1 and 2. But they might have to have their own episodes. They're both very significant in their own ways.
Hard hitting. Well,
everyone, that pretty much brings us to the end of the conversation about Starfield.
I think so.
Us?
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it wraps up everything that needs to be said, and I think we're fair. I think we're fair there, you know.
We need that button from the Chappelle show. Wrap it up!
I mean, you know, I feel like if I keep talking about it, I'm just going to be beating a fucking dead horse. And,
it's true, but it's a mix of expectations from yourself, the actual expectations from a company with their track record, and just a mix of things. So, although it's kind of like beating a dead horse, you know, we can't battle with our wallets, we got to battle with our words.
Oh, for sure.
And this is the only way they're going to really figure out that.
Well, they ain't listening to us.
Oh, fucking no, they don't know. They'll say deep dive, fucking kill them.
They can
Howard
deep dive
will put
into
a fucking
the goddamn ocean.
Kill out on us.
But, you know, it's like, you know, the fan feedback they do look at. So I'm sure they've seen some of the shit. Nothing we've said hasn't already been said.
Oh, no, it's been said,
you know, but,
a ton of times.
We're just chiming in and giving you our opinion on it, but we weren't biased. You know, we're big Bethesda fans and we rate it pretty low. I'd say it's their second worst game in 10 years.
So,
you know, 76 is just bad. The way that game is designed to be online is what throws me out of it, because it's like I don't want to play with other people, and you can't remove that design from it no matter how many private lobbies and all that shit you do. It's still designed with that concept in mind, and the gameplay does not feel like previous Fallouts because of it. And that's what it is for me.
Well, you also can't take a game where the point is survival.
Yeah.
And you're alone most of the time. Like, you have your companion, but...
So dumb to me,
but,
dude.
Like, they're not really... They don't change the atmosphere you feel of the game. But Fallout 76, now you got a fucking group. You got other people in the game, and it just kind of removes that feel. And that's kind of a thing with Starfield. I didn't feel awe. Like, it just wasn't there. Like you said, with Red Dead Redemption 2, different times of the fucking day, I'm just sitting on my horse or walking around, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, this might be the most beautiful game I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it feels so alive, too. That's part of the charm. Like, you're running around as Arthur, but it's such the perfect storm because your character is trying to be a better man. He's spent his life being a dick. So it's so much easier for you to stop and take in the beauty of the world around you when it ties into that. And I think games like Starfield and Fallout can benefit from that mentality, because I don't know about you, but to surmise my overall thoughts on a game like this, Fallout, Starfield, Red Dead, Skyrim, it doesn't matter. I want to feel like I'm on a personalized journey that I figure out, and then my story intertwines with the main story at some point, and that makes you feel like a true hero, like you've been on a true journey, like you're alone in that world. You're truly surviving.
No, you're right.
Like, and
that's what I want to feel.
yeah, and that's what I think. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion, but I think they're losing their own understanding of what we want and keep giving us this cookie cutter shit, which is how I feel about open worlds now in general. Like, they're so overproduced. You can tell a linear story and it's fine. You know, it doesn't have to be fucking the biggest game you've ever been in and the biggest open world map ever. Like, that's bullshit. We're fucking 15, 16 years down the line of doing that now. And I just don't think anyone's done it better than Rockstar and early Bethesda. So, you know, I'm not saying don't try, but be like them. Fucking learn from them. You know?
And also don't be like Bethesda and learn from Bethesda.
For modern shit.
For modern stuff, but no, I think it wraps it up perfectly, and I hope in the future they do better. I am excited for the House Varun DLC, the Shattered Space, because I forgot to mention this earlier, but real quick, I like when Bethesda does those kind of mystery characters or people.
Absolutely.
Like me personally, I wish that we got a Skyrim game based on the Doomer.
Yeah.
What happened to them,
yeah.
like the story is based around the fall of their civilization and what happened, because in Skyrim you find all this cool shit and it's cool, and Varun is kind of the same thing. Like, their presence is there, people are terrified of them, they're zealots, you know, all this stuff about them, but you don't like deal with them too much. They're not a huge part, but now we're going to their area of space. I don't know. It seems super cool. So even though I rate this game as 6.5, I'm going to finish it this time, and I'm gonna play this DLC because I am excited to play it.
Yeah.
So despite all the shit talking, I do intend to finish this. I do want to see what else they can add to this game to maybe fix these issues. But if you haven't played it, I say pick it up and try it. People might feel differently. It could be the best Bethesda game to you ever.
Yeah.
It might just be your perfect mark. So
that's how
pick it
it
up
hit
and try
me with
it.
Fallout, you know? I mean, it can happen to anybody.
Exactly.
But yeah, I agree. Get out there, experience it, pick it up at a discount if you're weary of the price. I see it go on sale all the time for like $45. Pick it up.
Yeah, do yourself a favor.
The DLC at the end of the month here, September 30th.
Yep, Shattered Space.
It should be good. It looks like it'll be a good time. So do yourself a favor. You know, if anything we've said wants to guide you in the right direction, cool. And if anything we've said guides you away from it, that's kind of understandable too. But I'm a huge advocate of just find out for yourself.
Give it the good old college try. Put a finger in your butt. Just do it.
Another milestone here for us is we're steady with these episodes. We've been doing pretty damn good. I can't believe it's been going that long, but
thank you guys. Yeah,
like I said, it's gotten kind of addicting. So, you know, episode 9 for us right now, that's pretty sweet. We might have to do something special for episode 10. Actually, episode 10, as it were, is going to be, and I will announce this one because really nothing can stop that, is Beetlejuice and then Beetlejuice.
Woo!
We're going to be doing a 2-parter on that bitch, talking about the classic, talking about the sequel, Beetlejuice. And I think you'll be interested to hear what we have to say about it, because I am a big fucking Beetlejuice fan. Like, I grew up watching it. I've seen it every day of my life for probably like 5 years when I was younger. It was just one of my go-to movies.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So I'm stoked to talk about it. Hope you guys are
stoked.
down to deep dive it with your boys. Practical.
Gonna deep dive Jenna Ortega. This is your boy Rex.
Nobody can disagree with that. If you're listening, Jenna Ortega, we love you. Just remember that. They were waiting for you to make Beetlejuice 2, they said.
Yeah, waiting for you, so make the wait worth it.
And come on our show and talk to us about that shit. That'd be dope. Like, I know she'll never hear this, but if she randomly did and she wanted to come on Deep Dive, I'd fucking be like, whatever we got to do, let's get her on here.
I'll give you $5.
She's like one of those new modern standouts. Like, she's like a young Winona Ryder, you know? Like, she's kind of hitting all the same check marks, except for those Scream movies.
Hopefully she doesn't steal, get caught for it.
Yeah, whatever. I love you, Winona. Don't listen to this motherfucker. I don't care.
I got nothing bad about Winona. She can steal something from me anytime.
Yeah, and she can steal my heart. That'd be awesome. It's a little bit lame.
You took it there. It's okay.
Dude, she's been a huge crush of mine for years, but...
Well, you didn't watch Beetlejuice for 5 years every day.
Exactly.
To look at fucking Michael Keaton.
I do love Michael Keaton, though.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a perfect way to end this episode. Like I said, once again, it's your boy Prack.
Your boy Rex.
And we will catch you next week for Beetlejuice. Woo. All right, later, guys. Have a good week.
Goodbye.